You're listening to the CX Innovators Podcast.
As business leaders look for ways to improve productivity and profitability, they're increasingly turning to innovative automation and self-service technologies. But keeping up with the rapid pace of new innovations can be overwhelming. Now there's a website to help you do just that. From the publishers of Kiosk Marketplace, Vending Times, and Digital Signage Today, Automation and Self-Service covers trends in artificial intelligence, robotics, kiosks, payments, and much more. Visit the site today and subscribe at www.automationandselfservice.com.
And welcome to the CX Innovators Podcast. I'm Daniel Brown, editor of Digital Signage Today, and we have a very special guest today, Ray Friedrich. Ray, would you like to introduce yourself to the audience?
Yeah, sure. Thank you, Daniel. Ray Friedrich was in the industry for quite a long time, food and beverage, acting as a consultant with East Street Advisors.
That's wonderful. And I'll tell you, you're quite, I think for the older folks among us, we know who you are, but for the new, really honestly, the new generation of entrepreneurs that is cropping up in food and beverage and self-service and restaurant, could you just give us a brief thumbnail sketch of who you are and what your mark on the industry has been?
We've always, myself personally, my philosophy and the philosophy, therefore, of our business was always to be innovative. To be able to separate yourself from the rest of the pack, mainly through technology and technology to both enhance the customer experience and to add efficiencies to your operation. So, our company, we advanced quite a few things over the last last 3 decades, actually. Digital signage in our cafes. We were doing self-checkout and pre-ordering in our food and beverage operations pretty much before anybody. Then, of course, back in 2006, we got into what became known as the micro market industry. Wasn't that then? Some of your colleagues at the time helped us define it as the micro market. And, so it's through those type of technology advancements that we were able to do very well in the marketplace.
That's wonderful. I love it. And I got to say, I think I met you at the RFIS last fall. I could be wrong, but you seem to have a unique take on not only combining this innovative technology with the human touch. And I got to say, a lot of these young executives starting companies are very passionate. They don't always seem to grasp that you got to tie the tech to that human touch. Is that just me? Am I crazy? Is this a problem right now?
No, Daniel, you're spot on. You can't do tech for tech's sake. Technology is a wonderful thing, but if it doesn't enhance the consumer experience, or even worse, if it hinders the consumer experience or makes it more difficult, you've made a big mistake. So you just nailed it right on the head. If you can't enhance the experience and make it better for the consumer, you probably shouldn't do it. And I think that sometimes gets missed along the way by some people. And you just pointed that out, it's a challenge for an industry and a business.
In practical terms, I love that you confirmed my predilections there. How do you guide, as a consultant, how do you guide these businesses and teach them how to create a healthy balance? Like, what is the balance between innovation versus straying too far into innovation for innovation's sake with the self-service and the restaurants and the micro markets?
If I'm counseling somebody that's younger, we look to a lot of things. We focus on the leadership of the business. I don't like a command control dictatorship type of an operation. I believe that a good leader, a young leader, will embrace their best people and collectively come up with solutions at work. If you don't have buy-in from your key people, if you're just this is what we're going to do and not have a discussion about it, chances of failure are pretty significant. Where, you get a group of smart, diverse people in a room, and you're probably going to come up with the best solution. And as long as you, adhere to the rules of, kindness and brainstorming, and there's no bad ideas, and you truly listen, a good leader is going to come out of a meeting like that with the best possible solutions. And when it comes to technology, again, you really got to, because it's tricky. Technology is tricky. Sometimes it's new. Like when we did micro markets, it was new. So there's a lot of problems. But if it's worth it, you got to stick to it and work through those problems, because nothing worthwhile is ever easy.
Oh, I love that. I'm going to write that down. Nothing worthwhile is ever easy. That's a great dictum. But about a decade ago, back when I was in college, the command and control mindset, I think, was still very big in a lot of the business courses and so forth. But I'm noticing a shift, and a lot of speakers like yourself have said, look, we need this collaboration. We need a community of ideas, and we need a diversity of ideas. Do you feel like you're fighting an uphill battle trying to teach this to younger generations, or are they starting to adopt the mindset?
It depends. It's from leader to leader. I think it's becoming more accepted. My son's in college right now. It seems that the collaboration is more desired. Now, you don't want to, as a leader, to be afraid to make a decision and really give up the group think. You still have to maintain a certain level of control, but the key is to have people in the room that have, to your point, diversity in thinking. If it's group thinking, everybody's thinking the same thing, you're not going to get a good result. So you really need to embrace the different ideas and different concepts and different perspectives. But still, as a leader, you have to make the final call. But the ultimate final call, if you've got a consensus within your group, the chances of your success are infinitely greater. Because when imagine you're in a room and some guy says, here's how you're going to, somebody says, here's how you're going to do this, and without any conversation. Well, that person's not going to necessarily have buy-in, where if you come out of a decision-making meeting with a collective mindset of this is what we're going to do, where everybody actually had some input and had some buy-in, there's an ownership level there. And you're more committed to success if you've had a chance to partake in the decision-making process. I do think it is getting much, much better. In fact, 30 years ago, there's a lot of people in our industry and other industries that, they just unilaterally made decisions, good, bad, or indifferent. And if you're a poor decision maker, or you're a knee-jerk type of person and you make a decision based on emotion, you're going to make a lot of mistakes. And I saw a lot of really smart people make really silly mistakes because they didn't think it through. They didn't get collaboration. I do think that things are getting better, though, from what I'm seeing anyway.
That's huge. I remember there was a saying or a song actually when I was young, and it was called "Starve the Ego, Feed the Soul." And for the restaurant industry, it's almost like it sounds like you need to, and with technology and innovations and self-service, subtract your ego from the equation. It's not about being right all the time. It's not about being above other people and making other people wrong. You don't have to have all the answers. You can find the answers together, which is such a refreshing way of looking at it. Did you always have that mindset, or did you have to develop this over time?
Well, I was very fortunate that I did start off my career a bit with that mindset. But you got to be careful not to get too big for your britches and think that you know everything and you're the smartest person in the room. And I think there's a tendency for executives to develop into that sort of a mindset in position. You have to fight that. I didn't have to necessarily fight it, but I had to get better at it. It's not a natural thing to give into that sort of a system. I think a lot of executives and leaders want to be in charge and want to be in control. But boy, I tell you, that can be a real, real big mistake.
That's huge. I love that. Well, so listen, you have been around the block. You have 3 decades of experience, I believe you said, in this industry, and technology is evolving so fast. This is my living, and I can't even keep up. Every day there's something new. What's the secret to staying on top of this rapid development of technology, and what advice do you have for operators who feel so overwhelmed?
Well, you're gonna love this pitch, because what you guys do in your media group is really probably the best resource you're going to have, in between going to shows, which I encourage people to go to these trade shows, Self-Service Innovation Summit, these type of shows expose you to new concepts, new ideas, your networking. And then in between those shows, I to this day, I still read your material in the trade journals, because that's the way to keep up with stuff. If you don't stay current, you're gonna lose out.
That's huge. And in terms of staying current, I'm curious because you have your finger on the pulse. We see so many headlines about different, sometimes it's a gimmick, sometimes it is a trend. AI is still absolutely massive. Everyone's talking about AI. I think they're going to put AI in the McBurger soon or something. What are the big trends to you that you think have staying power for, let's just say, the coming year?
Well, AI is really an interesting. I'm glad you brought that up. Because it's a kind of a catch-all almost term. What is AI? How's it going to affect me? If you look at retail, for instance, Amazon and other major retailers are going to use AI to enhance the customer experience, to get to know their customer better, to be able to make more appropriate decisions, or I should say not decisions, but to make more appropriate recommendations, to understand and build a database on the individual that it's interacting with, to make the experience better, to learn my habits better, and thus ultimately serve me better and probably sell more. There's some of the newer AI approaches to retail are suggesting that not only is it increasing sales, but it's actually able to shop a little better for you and make your purchasing power go a little farther by finding you the best deal. So I think it's all about personalization and understanding your customer way better than we could in the past. I mean, we just didn't have a lot of customer interaction. We did surveys. We if somebody chose to call us or send us an email, that was great. We get feedback from a client through their HR, or you form a committee. Hey, that's nice, but it's not drilling down to the individual level. And once we understand the individual and their needs and desires, we're going to be able to service our clients that much better. And it's a very exciting new world when it comes to that application of AI in the customer experience.
I love that. In terms of the AI, would you say for restaurants and also for the vending and micro markets, what are some of the most creative and powerful things you're seeing people do today?
So, automation of systems, AI for menu planning, menu development, suggesting menu items. And once these systems learn your menu, they can virtually do all of your ordering for you. I mean, we're not too far away from a restaurant. Short of doing a physical inventory, which is getting better and better and easier, is going to manage your kitchen and your menu for you. It's going to tell you, hey, this menu item just not doing what it used to do anymore. You got to change it. Hey, this menu item is selling really, really well. Let's do a spin on that menu item and offer more of that. Let's say you've got multiple cuisines on your menu. And Mexicans really starting to shine as something that your customers like. The AI will analyze your data and make these suggestions for you and save and operate a whole lot of time. Imagine if you don't have to do all of your own ordering anymore. Your system will watch your inventory, watch what you're selling, and have the power level set where your order goes into your suppliers, whether it's Cisco, Vistar, US Foods, pick one, go directly to them. That delivery is going to come to you without you doing anything. This is going to free up your kitchen staff and you personally as an owner operator to focus on the service. So people say, AI is going to take jobs. Well, it's going to create jobs too. It's also going to enhance the customer experience, because when you free up labor, the labor is not necessarily going to go away. Chances are it's going to be reallocated to a better purpose. And to me, there's no better purpose than enhancing the customer experience, because the gal that serves the customer better is the one that's going to win. And so it's not about slashing staff. It's about a reallocation of your assets to better serve the client or the customer. And I think that's the exciting part of AI. It's going to free us up from very mundane. Nobody likes to do inventory and place orders. Nobody wants to sit down with the chef and, the wait staff and have endless meetings about what should we do to change the menu? How can we enhance it? How can we do better with our menu? Having AI help you with that process is just going to streamline things and, again, free you up to do higher payoff activities. And to me, the highest payoff activity is customer service and satisfaction, because whoever does the best job at serving the client or the customer is going to win the business.
Oh, I love that you said that, and you brought up AI. Well, with robotics too, I've been hearing stories, so many stories now, of how, well, if there's a robotic busboy, if you will, the customer's delighted because if they drop their fork, they instantly get a new one. The server's delighted because they're not sprinting across the room and they have to be distracted. And the other stories that really fascinated me recently were servers that love having some AI and robotics lighten their load so they can have a long conversation with the customer, and their tip is higher, go figure, and they love it.
Yeah, if you're a wait person and you're spending more time on the floor with your guests and not in the kitchen pulling food out of the window, the service windows to serve, you're absolutely gonna provide a much greater customer service. So if your waiter or waitress is standing there interacting with the customer, making recommendations, maybe talking about wine selections, while the service robot's bringing the heavy food out, all the better. And to your point, Daniel, automation in the back of the house and front of the house is just tremendous. Locally, we had a beer hall open up completely unattended. Not only do you walk in and with ID verification systems to make sure you're of age, but then the whole tap room is completely self-service. Now, myself, I kind of like that human interaction. I think that's one of the reasons people go out is to be with other people and have that human interaction. But it seems like every generation, as we progress, keeps wanting to do less and less with people and more. I just want what I want without any human interaction at all. Interesting story. So when we opened up back when you could actually sell, soda pop and chips in high schools, we opened up a micro market in 2007 at a high school. Well, this was a pretty big deal. Nobody'd ever seen self-checkout and especially unattended self-checkout. So news media came out. News media's interviewed 3-4 students in a row, and it blew me away. The question was, what do you like about this system? Now these are 18-year-olds that are now 38 years old. 27, whatever, we can do the math on that. But anyway, they were 18 in 2007, and their consistent answer to that question was, I guess I like it because I don't have to deal with people. And I thought to myself, that seems so odd. But I'll tell you what, you hear that all of the time today. And, it is what it is. So some people might like the unattended beer hall. Some people might want to go interact with a server. But point is, you can cater to both crowds.
Well, and you brought up such a hot topic for me because I've been to so many events around the country where it's a hot debate about, Gen Z, what's their true desire? Do they want people interactions? Do they not want people interactions? What kind of experience do they like? I even heard people say, we don't know what Gen Z likes yet because the pandemic altered how they feel. So we don't yet know what their normal preferences are. So for me, I honestly don't know what to think. Do you think that unattended self-service is the complete future? Do you think that it'll rebound and suddenly people will want more people interaction? What's the trend going to be in the next 5 years?
I think it's going to evolve to more robotics, front and back of the house, and less human interaction. And I think the human interaction piece is going to become more the premium. So your casual fast food, quick serve is all going to be automated like you wouldn't believe. I mean, it's going to be roll up to that McDonald's. Well, first of all, you're not even going to talk to the thing anymore. You're just going to do an app. You're not going to talk to a speaker, but you're going to be able to speak directly to the app. Voice recognition is going to know you. AI is going to know you, going to know what you like. Hey, would you like the same thing today, Ray? And that order is going to be processed without any human interaction to a system in the back of the kitchen that there's no humans. It's all going to be robotic food production. Imagine, if you will, McDonald's with 2 employees, 3 employees. So because it's the lower end of the spectrum, cost is of paramount importance. So anything to reduce those costs. Now, if you want to go out for an anniversary meal or a special occasion, that's not what you're going to do. You're going to want that interaction. You're going to want that sommelier to recommend wine to you. You're going to want that Peking duck carved table side. So I think it's become more and more the special event will incorporate that human touch, that human service. But when it comes to day-to-day dining, there's nothing stopping this bus. It's going to be all about AI, automation, and robotics because it's about driving down costs. Because if we don't do that, everybody's joked and said, Big Mac's going to be $15. Well, in a lot of markets, Big Mac meal is $15. It's not a joke anymore. So it's putting that out of reach of consumers that are looking for, on a budget, looking for an extreme value. So there's nothing that's going to stop that on the lower end of the food spectrum. It's going to continually march forward. It's going to be that special occasion where you're willing to pay more for that human interaction.
Thank you for that. We'll come back in 5 years and test your prediction with the crystal ball and check and see with the robotics. Now, I'm curious, too, as you're counseling this new generation, they're facing AI robotics, the brave new world, if you will. There's so much change happening. What are some of the most common mistakes that you see people they keep making over and over again? If I could give you a magic wand to do away with these hot mistakes that you keep saying, what are they? What are the big problems that you see with the young operators just starting up?
So, Daniel, that's a great question. Be very careful about the technology you choose and the partner that you choose, because there's a lot of startups. So I watched when we were doing a project where we were doing developing a self-checkout automation system for food service. So it was a cashier station, but when times got slower or during off hours, you'd actually take that cash register, spin it around, and it would become a self-checkout kiosk. And I watched during that time, we were looking for a point of sale partner for the back end of the business. And there was probably half dozen leading point of sale companies. Some of them were $100 million in funding. Guess what? They went out of business. So you got to be a little careful. Once you choose a technology, you got to be careful in what partner you choose. You got to look at not just the cost, because, boy, I tell you, if you buy on cost, you're going to get what you pay for. You don't necessarily want the most expensive, but somewhere's in the middle of the road. But you got to look at what's their customer support look like? What does their future development look like? Does their system integrate with my partner's systems? How easy is that integration? There's a lot of choices. And I think the biggest mistake some people make is not being careful enough choosing their technology partner and really looking at their stability, their funding, because, what if you buy a technology and you've invested heavily in it and, 3 years down the road, 2 years down the road, they go out of business. You've got a real big problem. So I think the best advice you can give is be very, very wise and very choosy about your technology partners. Make sure they're going to be able to stay around for the long haul, make sure they're actually continuously developing, and make sure that they've got good systems to integrate with other systems, because at the end of the day, these systems have to talk with one another because there's no one standalone solution. So that would be my advice. Be very, very choosy of your technology partners.
I love that. And this has been a hot topic. This is a hot audience question, I suppose, at many events I've been at. We're dealing with still something of a labor shortage crisis in aspects of hospitality, restaurant, hotel, you name it. Do you have any advice for folks on retention and also on hiring quality folks that you can retain?
So there is a shortage. So that means people get to choose where they work. Without using names, what I will say to that is the restaurant and food service operators that tell me they're really challenged with their labor, the difference between them and the ones that are not challenged, it's culture, leadership, and environment. If you get to choose where you work, do you want to work for a jerk, or do you want to work for somebody who has developed a nice culture where it's where it's a little easier going? The restaurant owners that are struggling to find labor are the assholes, sorry to use that term, but they're the jerks. They're the people that don't treat people right. They're not effective leaders. They have a hostile culture, where the operators who are effective leaders and have created a good work environment, they don't have a problem getting labor right now. So labor has a choice, and they can choose to work for a jerk, or they can choose to work for an organization that treats them with respect and dignity. And so just don't be part of the shortage. Treat people properly. You have to be competitive. And if you have to pay a little bit more, at the end of the day, guess what? You got to raise your price to accommodate that. You got to have a budget. And when your food cost goes up, what do? You raise your price. When your labor cost goes up, You got to raise your price. But as long as you're commensurate with your service level and quality level, people don't mind paying a little more. Because, if you've got an employee that's unhappy, chances are that's going to reflect in their level of service. That's going to affect the customer and their experience and what they're willing to pay. So I've always said, treat the people right, develop a nice culture, be an effective leader, and you're going to create a good experience for your customer. And that customer is going to be willing to pay more because they're getting a better experience. It's all connected.
Oh, I love that. I love Dirk Gently's Holistic Detective Agency by Douglas Adams, where he says everything's connected. That's wonderful. There's almost a cliche saying, but it's a true saying, I think. Do good to do well. And it sounds like, listening to you talk, be willing to invest and pay for quality in terms of your software, your labor, your partners. Don't go for the lowest cost option just because it's the lowest cost. 100%,
Daniel. You get what you pay for. I mean, that's an old adage, but the reason it's still spoken today as it was 100 years ago is because it's just so true.
That's amazing. Well, we're getting close to time, so I just want to hand you the mic, Ray. If you could give one message to the industry operators, you name it, what's your big burning message for the coming year and onward for success?
Business is always a challenge. Don't let it overwhelm you. Stay positive, stay focused. I think that's the main thing. It's easy to get discouraged, but if you're an operator, a leader, you set the tone, you set the environment, you can help define the culture. And if you're unhappy, you're bitter, you're cynical, that's going to reflect in your people. So I'd say be positive, treat people well, and you're going to do good.
I love that. And I'll just close on my end with, I found a quote from, you were on a panel, and I heard you say this, I believe. The secret to success is solving problems for your customer. Be a problem solver. I think that's accurate. Was that you?
Yeah. One of my favorites is do not go into business unless you like problem solving, because business is nothing but, from the beginning of the day to the end of the day, solving problems. That's what business is. If you don't like solving problems, don't get into business. Go work for somebody. And the person who solves the problem better is going to be the more successful enterprise. We've seen it over the years. The ones that figure out a better way to do things, the ones that figure out a better way to serve the customer, the ones that figure out how to become more efficient, that's nothing but a series of solving problems. They're the ones that are going to be more successful. You just got to solve the problem better than the other guy.
I love that. I honestly, I can't think of a better note to close on than that rule for success. That's wonderful. Ray, thank you so much for joining us. And we'll definitely have you on again, because I love your insights into the human technology dichotomy that we're all facing. This is great stuff.
Hey, Daniel, I want to thank you. It's always a pleasure to speak with you. I think you and your media group are doing a fantastic job, again, being a pillar of the opportunity to help people learn what's new and what's exciting. You guys, without you guys, people be flying blind.
As business leaders look for ways to improve productivity and profitability, they're increasingly turning to innovative automation and self-service technologies. But keeping up with the rapid pace of new innovations can be overwhelming. Now there's a website to help you do just that. From the publishers of Kiosk Marketplace, Vending Times, and Digital Signage Today, Automation and Self-Service covers trends in artificial intelligence, robotics, kiosks, payments, and much more. Visit the site today and subscribe at www.automationandselfservice.com.